Welcome again to Film Companion South, and today we will be talking about Selfie, a debutante film of Mathi Maran. This film, in terms of its subject, it's very simple. It talks about how the whole role of capitation fees and donations and brokers in higher educational systems have really ruined all perspectives on good education in India. So the film doesn't focus on education, but goes into the world of people who do sell. They sell seats, they sell professors, they sell things. And therefore, it's all about big bosses and brokers and things. And into this field comes the primary character, played by G.V. Prakash, Kanal, and he is somehow trying to make a name for himself. In short, that's it. The problem is, this is a subject which we have seen and heard and discussed in our own lives multiple number of times. We all know what happens in colleges and how the various levels of corruption happen at these higher levels. The film does not do any kind of research into which particular college and what kind of things, but it just goes into this very murky area, scandalous area, shameful, sinful, criminal activities of charging innocent students beyond their scope to repay or pay back anything here. So that is, in fact, as far as the subject is concerned. Now let me go into how Mathi Maran attempts the treatment of this. He follows, the typical Latin American styles where you have everybody in the film is all evil characters, tough characters, what I call it as a toxic cinema. Every level of film is just carbon dioxide. There is little oxygen in the film. Even the two women characters, even those two women characters are highly toxic. One of the heroine's father is also part of this racket, and you feel, oh my God, a world like this exists in which there is no, in quotations, a normal character. Fair enough. I have no argument. After all, that is a formal style, the toxic cinema, or what we call as the cinema of disgust. But in this, what happens is very interesting. Whereas directors like Nalan or Kumara Raja Tyagarajan or Mishkin or Vetrimaran himself, who mentored Mathi Maran, they had a certain formal approach to cinema. They would shoot it in certain way, they would have certain color schemes, they would use certain kinds of music tracks, and they would use certain kinds of actors in their works to differentiate that this filmmaking and that is the subject. So there is a nice distanciation that happens. Mathi Maran doesn't do that. He immerses himself into this. He enters into this quicksand of all these toxic characters. And so it's, for me, at one level, if the form and content seem to be completely in unison with each other. He is struggling with his characters. He is struggling with the storytelling in the same way as his characters are struggling to tell the story. You see, that is so fascinating to see the director and the writer himself and in the actors, they are all in the same pool. So the film, what happens is, in terms of treatment, it relies heavily on talk. And there's dubbing all the time, there is monologues and there are overlap voices and everything happens at talking level. I think what happens is, after some time, a filmmaker feels scared. Oh my God, are the audience going to miss this out? Are they going to miss that out? Let me say it here, let me say it there, let me say it. The film is full of talk, giving actually very little time for people to actually emote and see themselves on the screen. So that is where the treatment is of a toxic cinema, goes so deeply involved, and Mathi Maran is deeply into it. Now, if you go back to the influences and if you see that how other cinemas, across the world, they have also made such films. So if you see some of the works like Goodfellas or Sin City, or you see Amores Perros, all these Latin American cinema, you will feel, are filled with negative characters, filled with people who have no hopes, no desires. And in fact, they are so masculine. The women have just no space in these films, And so it's very full of machismo. And you feel sad that what kind of a world is this in which women have absolutely no space at all. However, the wonderful part of this film, which I must really hats off, I have always been crying that Indian cinema has had very little diversity. It's all so Hindu. It's all them. and there are no representations of other communities. In this film, there is Nazir, a wonderful character who comes from the beginning, a boy who goes through serious remorse. He's part of this racket and he commits suicide. Brilliant part of the film is that his mother is the only ray of hope in the film. A Muslim nurse woman is the only ray of hope. And I feel this is so important to all filmmakers, that somewhere they should open their eyes and realize that India is not one community. It's one big national community with so many diversity. And if we can watch this diversity, it will be terrific. The primary character, Nalan, played by G.V. Prakash, is also the music director of the film. One song that he has composed in this film called Imai Kiriye is for me one of the finest pieces of music I have heard after a long time, especially because of the composition written by Arivu. Arivu's lyrics on it are beautiful, so touching, so tender. Inside this film, inside this very toxic film, here is a song which is very beautifully scored and written, and I sincerely recommend that you all watch it. So, in the conclusion, what could I say? That this is a wonderful work by a debutante. It's not a classy work, it's not going to attract large numbers of family audiences, but then the fact that somebody sticks his neck out to say, let us talk about the toxic world outside, is itself for me quite creditable. Of course, the film has tremendous lag. For example, I would say that the biggest problem in the film is that they don't know how to end this film. And how do they end it? They quickly say, make a statement to the press. And so the film ends with a television statement, on how capitation fee is bad, how this is bad, and you get the message there. I feel in a so-called toxic film, you should not have a message. You should not end it by selling that this can be solved if that can be done. No. It begins on the premise that the world is toxic and it shall remain toxic unless we, the viewers, change. And I think that is most important. Thank you.